Hello and welcome back to the Faith and Culture to Your Health series. And right now, Dr. Judy and I are working on a series called Pharmakia. And it's got its tentacles everywhere. So this show in particular is called Big Pharma, Big Problem. And as you know, Dr. Judy has become one of my favorite scientists. In fact, probably my favorite scientist as I've gotten to know her better over the past year and a half, I guess. And I'm just lucky that she's here today, and so are you, because we are going to talk about um, different aspects that make us unhealthy. And Dr. Judy's going to break things down for us. But, Dr. Judy, welcome, first of all. I'm glad you're here. And even though you had some technical problems at first, it happens to all of us. In fact, I've noticed that I look fine as I'm recording, but when I go back, I'm incredibly blurry and I don't understand. So we all get these problems every now and then. I wanted to start our discussion when we talked about this topic today, Big Pharma, Big Problem. It really made me think about 1 Timothy 6:10. So I thought I would read that to everyone, and then we can get started with the show. Of course, Paul is talking to Timothy, and he's warning him about what draws people and what gets people into trouble. And right here he says, "For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs." And that I realized that Big Pharma is not anything to do with faith. It is a religion, pretty much. But what happens when even companies get greedy, the rest of us suffer, especially when we count on these big organizations that are supposed to be helping people. And that's why I love Dr. Judy, because she cares about people and she has put everything on the line because she cares so much about doing the right thing. And she has this heart for God that is so beautiful. So I guess we can get started after that big long intro. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Kathryn, because I'm really blessed to be here. Not lucky, blessed to be here because, it takes a lot. You and I have been trying to have these conversations since we met on the Stay Awake tour now, October a couple years ago in Ohio. And
yeah.
I hope you'll be back with us in a few weeks or a week or two. We're going to be in D.C. at the Stay Awake. And this is when President Trump is dedicating the United States of America back to God. So when you say Pharmakia and you read this 1 Timothy, it's really important because the love of money is the root cause. And I've worked in every aspect of pharma, from big pharma to little pharma, and every aspect of science, from a 22-year career at the National Cancer Institute, where the small business apparatus, the small business grants and things allow a student of 20 years to grow up, be trained, and then take that to industry and develop it, that innovation that President Trump is always talking about. This is the absolute best of the NIH and the partnership between Health and Human Services in general, and developing the intellectual property of the citizens of the United States of America, not developing the funds of Harvard University or anything else. So, we're calling this or Pharmakia. We're not filling the coffers of Pharmakia because, you don't they don't own this. And in fact, this is what today, as we like to say, is May the 4th be with us, because this is the 6th anniversary of the movie Plandemic, the day Mickey Willis hit that download button and sent it out to the world, where more than 1 billion people shared it, and to their computers, where it wasn't in a cloud and they couldn't put it down, the Plandemic, because he said, May the 4th be with us the minute he hit it, because it's May 4th. And he knew a firestorm was going to hail on us from all directions, whether it be from pharma, whether it be from Health and Human Services, whether it be from the supplement industry, or which, because again, God didn't need help. We're not genetically hackable beings. I will never use the term biohack. That's against God. You nourish your cells. You know, they decided fortified milk was take all the fat out of it, where you get most of the nutrients, and put in synthetic vitamin D or anything else. They decided to give us a hepatitis B shot at birth, which is how HIV got into humans, but worse, with all that aluminum, with all that monkey, mouse, cow, aborted fetal, and everything else that was in those shots. The adjuvants, you see, the helpers to get your immune system to be on fire. You know, we're not firestorms. It's not a cytokine storm. We're fire dancers. Our immune system dances around the poison, and our God gave us protection from the poison in his providence, according to our epigenetics, our environment back to our grandmother. And this is where we were chatting over the weekend as we talk about this, because it's every aspect of our culture. It's every aspect of our culture. How did that happen in our culture, where we use like words like protocol and how much do I take? Well, Cardio Miracles Living Water, it's a recipe of a bunch of powdered foods that have minerals according to the genetic code, because your grandmother's spinach is not our spinach anymore, because now we've genetically modified our food. God didn't need help. A flavor saver tomato is thin skinned. It looks beautiful, and you squish it the minute you pick it up. You know, so what does your government do? And it's not pharma in this case, it's big ag. So how do we take on big ag, big food, big pharma? So this is when I'm like, and the corrupt Harvards, whose coffers are only getting bigger, and now medical school or college. College was $3,000 a year before the Bayh-Dole Act. What did I say? No more Bayh-Dole Act. That's what I said to Mickey in that first, and then the last thing I said to Mickey is forgive yourselves and forgive each other, because none of us knew this, just like you didn't know this. Nobody wants to make their child suffer. Nobody wants to. No doctor ever studied for 20. I mean, we study forever. Nobody would ever want to hurt a baby or a child or an old person in a nursing home. But that's the love of money. And I don't call it, it's not a bioweapon, it's a vaccination, but the law calls for immunization. and the law was changed to vaccination. In 2020, it meant, oh, you didn't stop the transmission of the agent. Well, we had a true vaccine in 1980, and it was called type 1 interferons. And that was the job I went to do at fermentation chemistry when I graduated from University of Virginia in chemistry with a specialization in biology, because we didn't have anything but plants. And there was only one inborn error of metabolism, as we call it, and it was called PKU, phenylketonuria. So you have too much phenylalanine ketone, which is an essential amino acid. And see, this is why I say this in these terms. Our food has been poisoned. And 9 of the 22 amino acids, 9 of them are essential. What does that mean? You've got to get them from your food, plant and animal. Humans don't eat weeds, cows do. And then cows pee on the ground. And if we only understood that vaca means cow and vaccine, and what is Bobby saying when he says an MMR vaccine? Well, MMR is not a vaccine preventable disease. MMR is not a vaccine preventable disease. Measles is. Not mumps and not rubella. And rubella is a strain of measles. So, of course, can the MMR vaccine, and I'm saying this because I love Bobby Kennedy so much, my friend, and Secretary Kennedy's getting beat up by we the people because they don't know how many snakes are in the grass wrapped around that snake. I mean, the American Medical Association. Well, by now we all know the pandemic wasn't just pharma. Because when all liability was removed by the 1986 Act, it was removed from pharma and medical doctors, practitioners, and it was placed on HHS. Who is that? Health and Human Services. But that's not EPA. And that's Dr. David Lewis, Science for Sale. And he'll show you that aspect, and you can interview him on shows like this because he's from Atlanta, Dr. David Lewis, Lewis, and we've done that book before in our book club on X Spaces back again for my sabbatical. All a sabbatical means is I can't have students. I can't teach. I've got to develop the last 6 years, now all going on the 7th year, of what we've learned of how to end the plague of corruption forever. Ending Plague, our last book. It tells you who did it, but it also tells you who ended it. And who ends it? A scholar's obligation in an age of corruption. A degree in philosophy, a doctorate of science. That is a philosophy degree or a scientific degree, and they're not the same thing. And in fact, we don't even give DSCIs, Doctor of Science, in this country anymore. That's why pharmakia is all of the different aspects of the love of money, the root cause. The root cause in this country is the love of money. And that's going to be all chronic diseases, whether the nutritional supplement, God didn't need supplementation, but you need supplementation if you're in the commercial and you're the doctor who has the snake around her neck, just telling you the symbolism in these commercials. So she calls herself a cardiologist. She's actually a DO. It's on her jacket, on her white coat. And so it says, when I poison my patients with a statin, I use QAnol to fix the problem of the mitochondria that's going to be poisoned when we don't have the ubiquinone chain. Sorry, my verbiage. When we don't have operating at full capacity, your mitochondria in your cells are in your brain, your heart, and your muscles. Your heart is your biggest muscle, but they're not all the same mitochondria. They have different sensors that respond to the poison of the moment, of the day. And your white blood cells will make a billion, a nanobot. 1 billionth is a nanometer of light. You shine the light. God is light. Get out of the darkness. For every poison, and that's how I speak this way. Because unlike you, my PhD is not in divinity, so I don't really know what I'm saying. Because I have to learn the Bible like everyone else in this country. Sorry, I'm a student of the Bible now.
You are. But I'm glad you brought up two things that we want to cover today. First, you brought up the fact that they removed liability from the pharmaceutical companies to create what they call vaccines. So it's hard to sue them for damage. And the other thing is how we are consuming poison all the time. And like you and I spoke about, I have some parts of Del Bigtree's High Wire, which you and I both watch, to show our audience. And then we can just kind of raise awareness. I hope for those of you out there who haven't heard of the High Wire, I would highly suggest and recommend it's something you watch at least every week. And if not, you can catch up on the episodes that you've missed. It is very informative, and they are serious about the facts and finding the evidence and helping people. So I want to go ahead and pull one of those up right now.
Well, and I should say with the High Wire,
Yes,
if your audience wants to text to the number 72022 in the text, that's the number. And in the textbook, in the little space where you write your text, you write capital I, capital C, capital A, capital N, because this is the Informed Consent Action Network. So go
that's
up
right.
for it. You found it.
They do have a law firm, and they win cases against the government because they find the truth. So here we go.
Poison. Take a look at this.
For decades, Bayer and Monsanto have poisoned our food and our families with glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup. And now, facing over 170,000 cancer lawsuits worth $16 billion, Bayer wants the Supreme Court to bail them out. It's time for the people to take a stand. On April 27th, we will march together at the Supreme Court. America demands equal justice under the law, with no immunity for chemical companies. It's the people versus poison, April 27th in Washington, D.C.
Obviously, we're after the 27th, and
but it was really important. Yeah. It was really important for the criticism that we were talking about. So here's a couple of lines from that, why it's still important to text that. Because if you could watch that, you could stream it to all your networks. So all of your friends, and I got this on my phone. I was out of town. I didn't get to attend live, but you'll get a text from that number 72022, no matter where you are in this country. That Bobby Kennedy will be they will tell you that Bobby Kennedy will be testifying. I should say Secretary Kennedy. Bobby's my friend. Secretary Kennedy hasn't talked to me for a couple of years. Anyway, and I don't try to talk to him because I don't want him to get my bad rap. Anyway, but so I will get the thing, and wherever I am, I can watch what he's doing in Congress. Why is this important? Because a lot of people with glyphosate and we're blaming Trump. They didn't say Trump wants no liability. They said the court. The Supreme Court doesn't get to do that any more than Ronald Reagan could do that with the 1986 Act. The person in our government with the least authority is the Supreme Court. Is it constitutional? Is it not? Nobody gets to lobby them, and they remove liability from Bayer Monsanto. So your Supreme Court is way out of line. All your judges are way out of line. And this is the lawfare that happened to me and President Trump later, me in 2011. And that's what really matters. When you're kidnapped and held in jail, the J6ers got it in J6 2021. But you see, if you're not watching the High Wire, where it's the Informed Consent Action Network that funds these lawsuits, and the brilliant Aaron Siri, he's been working with us. I've been on the High Wire since 2017 when Dell founded the show. And then when Aaron Siri at Ernie Hancock, freedomsphoenix.com, you see, this didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen in 2019, and it didn't happen in 2009, and it didn't happen in 1984. It happened in 1934. Oh, it happened in 1934 and 1938. And you might not understand that until you read or listen to the foreword of our book Plague, which published November 16th of 2014. So all I ever care about is the years. And when you listen to the foreword, it's called A Disease Able to Affect the Economies of Nations, not of the U.S., not of the nation. So this is the national and the global. And this is why it's really important that we support both President Trump and Secretary Kennedy and Maha, is they go to Congress and Senator Ron Johnson, every one of these hearings, as they go to Congress, and they literally get these congressmen and congresswomen, the people are lying on tape. They're attacking Bobby. It was a bunch of women that were attacking Bobby in attacking. Oh, they don't let him talk. Answer the question. Shut. And Bobby's great. He just says, you're just making stuff up. I never said that. They wrote it down on a piece of paper. He said, show me the tape. So these guys are under fire, Trump and Kennedy and the whole administration, all the time. And that's why we, the people, can't stick our heads in the sand and never watch this stuff. I don't care what you watch, but we have to look at what the people are seeing, because the people don't know Jesus. And but they can't if they're watching the satanic. That's why you started at this place.
So Dr. Judy, first, we lost your picture. I can't see you.
Oh, why?
But I wanted to, I don't know why. We're just seeing a black screen with you.
Oh, I don't know why. Let me try and figure that out.
Okay.
You shouldn't be seeing a black screen because I'm right here.
But because I want to help the people understand what they just saw on the High Wire, that little short clip was an ad that was telling people, just informing you. If you notice, they were talking about Monsanto. Monsanto makes the chemical glyphosate that is sprayed on all of our agriculture. And Dr. Judy mentioned earlier that we're being poisoned. We have poison coming at us from every angle. And this is why we have a lot of people with problems with gastro problems. And that causes them to have a leaky gut, so to speak. And so what I wanted to ask, maybe if she can get back on, hopefully she can, because I am not a scientist, but I do study what the scientists are saying. I'm just trying to tell the audience about glyphosate, Monsanto and glyphosate, and what it is and what it does to our gut and what it does to the full body. And that's why I was hoping that you could maybe educate us today about what's going on, because a lot of people don't take it, they see prices on foods, but I want to help people eat cleaner. And I know Cardio Miracle is a very good way to get the nutrition that you need as far as vitamins and minerals from fruits and vegetables. I take it too, and I've really noticed a difference. But what happened is that Bayer bought Monsanto. That's how Big Pharma got in the picture here. And so now you have a company that makes people sick, and then another company that picks up those pieces when we're sick and prescribes the medicines. And it's just like this big circle now. But getting back to the chemistry behind it all, can you tell us how, the chemical composition of glyphosate, Dr. Judy?
Actually, yes. And it's very simple for that, but we don't really want to talk about the chemistry here because this isn't really about that. But I will. Glyphosate is your smallest amino acid is glycine, Glycine, and that gives you your flexibility and builds the fascia and builds the cartilage and the structure that goes over your skin and everything. That's why I said flavor savor tomatoes. And so what glyphosate is, in nature, weeds have 2-methyl group and grass on glycine. So it's called dimethylglycine. CH3 is the chemistry of a methyl group. Well, that's the expression of your genes, and so it's methionine is the amino acid in the soil, in your foods, in your plants. So when you take methionine and you lose ATP, you use an ATP at adenine triphosphate to adenine diphosphate to adenine monophosphate to adenine, which is the base pair in your DNA. So every time you use a phosphate group, you burn fuel, you're burning energy. And so energy outside the cell is a danger signal. So we'll leave it right at that, but then we'll go back to, because methionine is the only place where you add the methyl group back at homocysteine, S-adenosylmethionine, and this is where there's a SNP, a single nucleotide change, polymorphism, that's called MTHFR. Well, God didn't make MTHFR genes from the acronym that people use. These are not genetic diseases. Chronic diseases are not genetic. Our food has been poisoned. Our soil has been poisoned. So glyphosate, Roundup, isn't a weed killer, an herbicide. It's a soil killer. So where is the problem with Bayer Monsanto? Oh, so if you take it out of the ground in measurable levels, they can transport it in planes in minute levels. They can take and Secretary Kennedy talked about this last week on one of his things in Congress. So they can take it. Oh, it might have even been his new podcast. So they could take it, and after your organic carrots or anything else, beans especially, like garbanzo beans, your wheat, after that organic wheat leaves the field, in the last days of harvest, if you get a rain, you'll ruin the whole crop. If it grows mold, if you harvest it and it's still slightly wet. Well, glyphosate is a drying agent. So they take all of that organic fruits and vegetables that you think you're buying, and they put them on silos in Kansas and wherever else they farm, Iowa and everything. And it's those congressmen and women that say, I don't care what you do, don't touch my soybean, don't touch my corn. Well, those are genetically modified, and it was the corn in 1988 that became where Upjohn became Pfizer, and it's and I keep saying, I'm saying this because there's just so much more to this. So the drying agent, you could have all the organic stuff you want and it won't make it to the market, and this is where the farmers have an issue. And I'm going to introduce you to a scientist named Howard, and we'll get him on the show because he's got that wheel in a way that all I have to say is, Howard, meet Kathryn, and then let's do this on the show next time we do the show, because it's really important for him to show. He showed that connection at the National Health Federation meeting last week in Texas, in Dallas, Texas. So you could buy that on tape, and you can learn where to get this in the show notes as we're studying and learning here. So there's so much bigger picture. Everybody says, well, I eat organic. Well, I'm sorry. If you walked into Trader Joe's or Whole Food or Costco or anything else, it's not organic, because it's either been bioengineered with a peel, because a peel's going to make the skin thick enough so that the flavor saver tomato that doesn't have fascia, because you didn't get to the skin because you don't have dimethylglycine in the grass, you don't have cannabis. All cannabis, hemp, makes rope. You don't have all terpenes are cannabinoids, but not all cannabinoids are terpenes. So we can use the oils like lemoneel and linalool, and you don't need to know any of this, but the point is God's nature. God gave us everything for food and for our happiness, and to steward that in a way that we lean not on our own understanding, and each is given gifts, the farmers are worried because now so much of our crop has been genetically modified that they can't have a business, and the weather has been modified, the geoengineering, so that you can create rainstorms and tornadoes and shut down spring break and an airline. I'm showing the people and trying to say it in a way where they're like, so maybe I shouldn't open my mouth and lean on my own understanding. Maybe I should just watch and pray and pray with my feet, and in my own little way change my own environment, my own thinking. It's stinking thinking, and that's why we always start with Pastor Casper McLeod in his book at the Stay Awake Tours, again, where we'll be in Washington, D.C. Come join us. We do this all weekend long, don't we, Kathryn? And it's a lot of fun, because you start to learn what you learn. So at Stay Awake, those of us who are awake need to plug into our communities and ask God, and Pastor Casper McLeod has been asked by General Flynn to lead this effort, because his book was called What Was I Thinking? Because and we do this in audio in our book club. And again, this is all at therealdrjudy.com. But what we're trying, or on our Cub, where we've been trying to just share the message as far and wide as we can, but you see how complex it is and how many layers it is if I've just been talking 30 minutes, and this isn't where Kathryn thought she was going to go at all.
No, I want people to know.
I can't hear you now.
I want them to know the whole picture here. And okay, before I lose this track, do they have an address for this Stay Awake tour in DC yet? a location? We lost your picture again. Anyway, did I lose you completely?
I just
Dr.
can't
Judy?
hear you.
Okay. We can't see you. Can you hear me say that? Dr. Judy? Well, we're having some major technical difficulties today. But what I have heard, if you get back on, Dr. Judy, please say something. We can hear you, we can't see you. But what I heard was that glyphosate is a byproduct, and Dr. Judy can correct me. I heard this on another medical show of Agent Orange. For those of you who don't know what Agent Orange is, it is a serious biotoxin. It was made for war. Anyhow, what I'd like to show is another clip from the High Wire, and what happens to people over time because of these poisons on our food. And I will show that. Dr. Judy, can you hear us now? Okay, I'm just going to play this clip. This is Dale Bigtree's interviewing with Dr. Shaw, who studied autism and the why people are getting autism and why it's increasing. And this is the study, what he studied and what he started finding.
Has this
So my paper on Clostridia now has been confirmed in laboratories throughout the world. And a study in China found that if you have a high Clostridia metabolite, you don't need psychological studies. You have autism if you have this elevated in your urine sample.
So there's a level of which Clostridia that if someone showed you a urine sample and says this level of Clostridia, you'd say that's an autistic child.
You have autism.
Wow.
It was 96% if you have one of the Clostridia. It was like 98.5% certain if you had 3 of the Clostridia metabolites that were elevated. And so then the next big question was, why is the Clostridia elevated?
Right.
And a study on children with autism, triplets who had autism, showed they all had high levels of glyphosate, the weed killer, which is Roundup.
Roundup, yep. In fact, just in a couple of days, we are hosting a march against the Supreme Court where they're going to try and give liability protection to Roundup. So I'm deeply involved in this issue.
So it's extremely bad because the glyphosate is not only involved with non-Hodgkin's leukemia, it's involved in almost every kind of disease, but not due to the direct toxicity of the glyphosate. In addition to being a weed killer, it's a killer of beneficial organisms in your intestinal tract. So all of the harmful organisms. So for example, we tested a person with severe amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which is known as Lou Gehrig's disease after the famous baseball player who got it.
ALS.
ALS.
Yeah.
And that person had the worst dysbiosis of any patient I ever had.
And dysbiosis meaning bacteria, gut flora is just totally out of whack.
Had high Clostridia, high amounts of candida, high amounts of mold. They were all extremely, the highest I've ever seen. And lots of published papers indicate that the dysbiosis, the abnormal flora, is a major cause. That stuff is absorbed from the intestinal tract, and then some of these molecules impair the blood-brain barrier, and they get into the brain and kill the motor neurons, which are the neurons that are affected in ALS. So somebody came to today to say, what would I do with a patient with
Yeah, and I can't hear you at all.
This test, it's called the organic acid test, which you can still do at the lab called Mosaic. But the other thing, this person had the highest glyphosate I've ever seen. So it was pretty obvious that the glyphosate had killed all the normal flora in this person. So the first thing you would need to do is say,
can you hear me yet?
Don't eat any food that's
now
not
I can't
organic.
hear you at all.
Take high
Yes. Can you hear me now? Okay. Oh, we're having such bad problems. Anyhow, as you can see, Dr. Shaw was finding what was consistent with his studies for years. And you should go watch that one. That is number 473, episode number 473 on the High Wire. Why are these people, why are children showing up with such high levels of Clostridium in their system and getting autism? There's a connection there, and it is a problem. And so I was hoping that Dr. Judy could help us with that. But we are running out of time. There you are.
Here I am.
Oh, okay, yay. All right.
I can help you with that.
Okay. So let me take that off the stage. There we go. Okay. So yes, did you see that episode with Dr. Shaw?
Now I can't hear you.
Oh, interesting. Well, all right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up, but that's the main problem that we have here, is that we need to be very aware of what we're eating. And that's what Dr. Shaw was getting to. Well, at least we got some discussion in on this topic, but I hope you all will check it out next time. Sorry for all of the technical difficulties. It did cause some problems in having us come on late as well. Until next time, and maybe we can finish our conversation on glyphosate.